Welcome to Sound of Resistance channel. Russia is confused and struggling with chaos. Russia is boiling like a witch's cauldron. Opponents of the Russian leader Putin go down to the city centers every evening and organize protest by shouting slogans against Putin. The voices of rebellion in Russia continue to increase day by day after the failures in Ukraine. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February, a heavy burden has been placed on Putin's shoulder. It is known that Russian leader Putin's plan is to complete his occupation in Ukraine within 2 months. But Putin's plan in Ukraine were thwarted. Because Putin faced an unexpected resistance in Ukraine, Ukrainian warriors did not pass the Russian soldiers in many parts of the country. The Ukrainian army dealt a great blow to the Russian army with its attacks on the Russian front. The Russian army is currently on the verge of collapse in Ukraine. The Russian army is waiting to die on the edge of the cliff with the wounds it received. Russian leader Putin has become unable to lift the burden on his shoulders on this day of war. Even Putin was crushed under this burden in Ukraine. Russian leader Putin is constantly the target of criticism because of the wrong decisions taken by Ukraine. The defeat of the Russian soldiers against the Ukrainian army by the Russian leader also caused trouble for his declaration of mobilization to prevent power losses. A large number of mobilized Russian soldiers lost their lives because the Russian reserve soldiers who reached Ukraine were sent to fight against Ukrainian soldiers without even being trained. After the bodies of the mobilized Russian soldiers were sent home, it caused confusion among the Russian people. The Russian people reacted strongly to Putin. Some anti-Putin protests came to the Kremlin place and said that Putin should be held accountable. Many of the elites in the Kremlin also took a front against Russian leader Putin. The resignation slogans of some MPs against Putin in the Kremlin echoed in the Kremlin corridors. Putin faced political anarchy as civil war and ethnic revolts loomed. According to a Bashkir independence leader, Russia is heading towards a bloody civil war and national uprisings that could lead to a fragmentation of the country and the emergence of 30 to 40 new states. Vladimir Putin's unfortunate decision to invade Ukraine has fueled the flames of separatist lawsuit across Russia, especially in the country's national republics. Russia's population is a complex fabric of multiple nationalities and ethnic minorities, a legacy of its imperial past. There are about 200 ethnic groups living within the borders of the Russian state. There are currently residents of Russia in one of the 22 national republics, most of which form part of the territorial framework of the country. On paper, these republics enjoy some degree of autonomy and have their own constitutions and legislatures. But their leaders are effectively appointed and closely controlled by the Kremlin and expected to implement Moscow's political agendas. Growing anger at the Kremlin's harsh assimilation policies aimed at suppressing and destroying local cultures and national identities has witnessed the emergence of a new generation of nationalist activists in the republics who are increasingly calling for full independence from Russia. Ruslan Gabbasov, 43, head of the Bashkir National Political Center, is one such person. In August, the Bashkir National Political Center declared that it was launching a struggle to build a free Bashkorostan and Bashkir political nation. Bashkorostan lies between the Volga River and the Ural Mountains and is home about 4 million Bashkirs, descendants of the Kipchak Turks. Nationalist leader Ruslan Gabbasov said that the Ukrainian war offers a unique opportunity to realize his dreams of independence, because whatever the outcome of the conflict, the Putin regime is doomed and Moscow's iron grip on the regions will crumble. In addition to his statement, Ruslan Gabbasov argued that Putin is facing a situation in Ukraine that he cannot win. If the Russian leader loses the war, his regime will collapse and it will plunge the country into chaos, he said. But even victory will not save Putin. The Ukrainians will never accept Russian rule, and the Kremlin will have to spend money to maintain an enormous system of repression, he added. The nationalist leader listed what awaits Russia in the coming days of the war. Nationalist leader Russia will face a huge bill for restructuring while its economy is still constrained by Western sanctions. All these financial costs will have to be borne by ordinary Russians who are already well off. Russia will suffocate economically and North Korea will become second, and uprising of ethnic nationalists will follow, which could lead to the division of Russia into 30-40 states. To prepare for future wars and political turmoil, Mr. Gabbasov and his supporters are building their own army. If there is a revolution and Putin is defeated and removed from office, his supporters will not accept it. They will try to bring him and his team back to power. Therefore, there will be a civil war between Putin's supporters and opponents. There may also be conflict between different nationalities in Russia. Therefore, it is best to have your own national guard now, say. The Bashkir leader claimed that the Ukraine war encouraged nationalist leaders in Russia to form their own independence movement. A League of Free Nations was formed by activists to coordinate their actions and advance their agenda. In addition to Bakshirs, the Free Nations organization includes Tatar, Buryats, Kalmyki, Chechens, and Ingrians. Cossacks also joined the Free Nations organization as well as regional movements agitating for the Siberian Republic and the Ural Republic. Gabbasov said of the Foundation for Free Nations, overall, all these various nationalities from national movements that see opportunities to create free and independent states. Nationalist leader Ruslan Gabbasov, 43, called on Western leaders to reach out to nationalist leaders and help them contain Russia's disintegration so that viable democratic state emerge from the ruins. The uprising in the Republic of the Russian Federation seems to be giving a headache to Russian leader Putin in the coming days. The Ukrainian army, on the other hand, is striving to take decisive steps in clearing the Russian-occupied areas from Russian soldiers and to deal another blow to take already weak Russian army. Ukraine will receive US Avenger air defense system to destroy Putin's missiles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously urged the West to send more air defense system to protect it from Russia's brutal missile attacks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's call for half arms has been answered. The US is sending Avenger air defense systems to Ukraine, which could be a vital lifeline in repelling Russian missile attacks. The Pentagon has confirmed that 4 air defense systems are on their way to Ukraine, which could prove to be a crucial line of defense against Iranian-made suicide drones and other weapons paralyzing the country's energy grid. The US supply of Avenger air defense systems to Ukraine could also mark another major blow for Vladimir Putin, who this week withdrew his troops from Kherson, the only city Russia has managed to capture since its first invasion of Ukraine in mid-February. Avenger air defense systems are mounted on a Humvee, which means they have good mobility on the ground. They are also armed with Stinger surface-to-air missiles and a 50 caliber machine gun. The gun also have a sighting system including an infrared camera, optical sight, and a laser range finder that can hit targets up to 5 miles away. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, "We are building an air shield together with the US to protect Ukrainian civilians. We are bringing victory over the aggressors closer. We must do everything to make it impossible for Russia to destroy our energy system with missiles and drones," said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The US complied with Mr. Zelensky's request with high-capable air defense systems similar to those used to protect the White House in Washington, D.C. While it is acknowledged that air defense systems are needed to fend off Russia's brutal attacks, Mr. Zelensky's former energy advisor Pavlo Kukta said the doubt Russia could do much more damage. Pavlo Kukta said electricity will remain the main target. But as long as supplies continue to arrive, I doubt the Russians will be able to intensify their attacks to a certain extent. The main volleys are debilitating and using it to destroy parts of the net. Dozens of missiles and drones may up to be 100, that's a lot. There are maybe several thousands in total, which is a lot. They consume a large percentage of their such ammo in a single barrage of fire in a day. That said, powering the mains for a couple of hours, maybe a day or two in some places, but no more than it was quickly repaired. Adding to Pavlo Kukta's remarks, I doubt the Russians will be able to grow an order of magnitude and fire 1,000 missiles in a single day, said. Mark Savchuk, a Kiev native and energy industry expert, also doubted that Russia could cause much more damage. It takes crazy coordination to fire these missiles, said Mark Savchuk. They need to send planes, fully resupply and restock ship-firing submarines and caliber missiles. Launch everything as close to border as possible and at the same time. It is incredibly difficult and astronomically expensive, said Mark Savchuk. Rumors that the war in Ukraine is coming to an end are gaining momentum. Russia is struggling with turmoil at the home and abroad. Raising his voice against Putin in the countries of the Russian Federation threatened the current order of Russia. Ukraine can take the advantage of the vortex Russia is in and go further in the occupied regions. Thank you for watching us.